Hello and welcome to this month's edition of On Scene with Tampa Fire Rescue. I'm Captain Bill Wade. Now, normally the fire chief hosts this show, but this month we're going to work with him to introduce you to the newest ladder truck put in service out here in New Tampa, introduce you to the newest firefighters hired by the city of Tampa. We're going to start today's show at Station 21 and learn about this new ladder truck and crew. At Tampa Fire Station 21 in New Tampa, we are looking at the newest public safety tool in the fire rescue fleet. Truck 21 was placed in service in early July. This truck is large and well equipped to handle most emergencies that can strike this community. Leading the four-person crew this day is Captain Steve Burns. We asked him what type of gear this truck carries.
Well, in addition to what a normal engine has, it has a full complement of ground ladders and, of course, the aerial ladder. But as an engine also, it has the water tank, it has the pump to pump it, and, of course, the hose. We're also advanced life support, so if you have a medical emergency, obviously we can handle that too. We have the monitor for heart attacks and things of that nature.
The main reason Truck 21 was needed was to improve response times to emergencies in the New Tampa and Tampa Palms communities. We asked Captain Burns about response times.
The next ladder is all the way over around Busch Gardens, so it's a long ways, especially if people know how the traffic is up in this area. It takes a while, so we're a lot closer. We'll have a response time of 6 to 8 minutes, whereas it might have been 20, and that, minutes mean lives in this business.
From the newly placed in service ladder truck in the north end of Tampa, we're now going to meet some of the newly placed in service firefighters that are training at the Tampa Fire Academy.
As we get ready to take you to Tampa Fire Training Academy, which recently received statewide recognition as Fire Training Academy of the Year, I'd like to let you know a little bit more about the firefighter recruits and the training they go through. When the recruits are hired, they have already completed some standard training requirements. They have already earned a State of Florida Firefighter Certificate and a certificate as an emergency medical technician. During the first 4 weeks after they are hired, the recruits go through 160 hours of additional training to refresh the basics and add some real-world situations and training that goes above and beyond what they have already learned. Seasoned veterans conduct these sessions at the Tampa Fire Academy. But that's enough background. Let's go to the Academy.
Today they're taking their first EVOC course. EVOC stands for Emergency Vehicle Operations Course, and it's where we teach them how to drive and operate emergency vehicles. They're trying to learn the way the vehicle handles in settings that would be similar to operating on the highway and roads. They are not. There is a maximum speed of 15 miles per hour out here. This is where they're getting used to how these vehicles operate. Clearly, the size difference and the weight difference of these vehicles compared to a regular automobile is quite different. The vehicles out here have specialized braking systems. Every vehicle is required to have not only your standard braking, but an auxiliary braking and then a retarder. They'll become familiar with the air braking systems, which would be similar to what you might find on a larger commercial vehicle or an 18-wheeler. The EVOC course meets the national standard, and it helps the students. They're required to take an 8-hour course in driver safety and learn about certain behaviors and things that go along with driving. They also then are required to drive this course. There's 8 stations in the course. Stations would include things such as parallel parking, stopping, a diminished clearance where it would simulate perhaps driving down a road and having some encroachment. They also have to do some serpentine driving and then backing into a similar to backing into a fire station. The standard requires that they take an off-road course, and in that off-road course, they'll experience different road surfaces, going from concrete to perhaps, let's say, a brick road surface. They also will be required to operate it going over railroad tracks, because the weight of the vehicle are similar to a commercial vehicle, which would be over 26,000 pounds, and that weight difference could create bouncing, and so it just helps them to get used to how they should drive that. I believe the hardest thing that they have to learn out here is backing the vehicles. Unlike your automobiles where you can actually, turn your head and look out the back view mirror, you can't do that on these emergency vehicles because there's big water tanks and there's passenger compartments. So they have to get used to using mirrors. They're right and left mirrors, and then get used to the length of the vehicle itself. They're actually doing fabulous. They're one of the best classes we've ever had out here.
Here at the Tampa Fire Academy, we're with the recruits, the new hires, and we're making sure not only that they know their basic training, but we're also adding to their skills, making sure they know what's called firefighter safety and survival, how to rescue themselves and their crew should they become trapped in a building that's fully involved in flames.
The importance of this exercise the candidates are going through, it's a safety and survival skill. Basically, it's a tool in the toolbox. If they're trapped or need to make a safe haven because they're in a fire conditions and it's starting to deteriorate, they can go ahead and make entry into another room where they can buy themselves some time and continue to try and exit the building at that time. They can't go back out into the hallway. Heavy fire conditions are existing. They're coming down the hallway, and instead of going back out into the hallway, they need to go from one room to another. That's their only means of exit of getting out of that room alive. They can't go back out in the hallway. The fire conditions have extremely deteriorated.
First time actually doing this. In case the room is deteriorating due to fire conditions, anything like that, it shows us how to get out of the room by a last resort means. So if we ever in an entrapment or anything like that, it shows us how to punch through the wall and go through a confined space, and the techniques how to do that. It's a difficult exercise. It just takes, you got to stay mentally in the game, and it's difficult, really difficult. It makes it, 100 times more challenging. You just have to rely on your other senses and touch and feel and everything like that.
The conditions here are actually perfect conditions. There's no heat, there's no smoke, there's no fire. There's not the stress level of a fire scene. So actually all they're dealing with here is just the actual Florida heat, the weather. So, but the actual conditions of going inside a building that's at 1,000 degrees, having the anxiety of being on an extremely intense fire scene with all the extra adrenaline running. So this is actually really low key compared to what they could possibly run into on the fire scene. What we're teaching them here is basically firefighter packaging and drags and pulls. Where if they're with a fellow firefighter or going to search for a firefighter that's gone down in the fire scene, we're teaching them how to package them using their air pack and their strappings to actually get a handle to pull that firefighter to a safe room or possibly out of the building. And we're just teaching them different techniques and of how to do that, and different tools that they need to carry and to have with them to make the job a little more simpler and easier, above and beyond. This is mostly personal firefighting safety. This is just basically we call this is we're starting to put tools in their toolbox. And this is one of the little tools we're starting to put in there for them so they can go on for more advanced training later on, different fire conferences that are around the state, and just kind of scratching the surface on possible training they need to just open their eyes basically what they need to know. That's not real world. By the time you get a good-sized firefighter with say he's 200 pounds, he's got 60 pounds of gear. That's 260 pounds. You're not going to sling that guy up over your shoulder. I know a few guys on the job that may be able to do that just for your size themselves, but in the real world, that's not going to happen. You need to actually be able to secure that firefighter, because you've got to secure his air pack to him so you don't pull it off him as you're trying to drag him out. Because at the beginning of this class, I ask them if they're familiar with their packs and their equipment. And they all tell me, all of them do, that they are. But once I get them out here and tire them out and cover them up where they can't see what they're doing, then they find out they don't know things as much as they should, and they have to go in a little practice.
A new ladder truck and a new crew in service in a new part of our community. New firefighters learning the skills they'll need to be future leaders of this department and all to serve you, the residents of Tampa.
A big moment in the career of any young firefighter is their graduation from recruit to firefighter status. For most of the young people in this class, the trip to this point has been at least a couple of years in coming. Before they could even apply to the department, they attended the basic training classes to become firefighters and EMTs. This was followed on by other classes and a rather extensive application process, then the successful completion of their 4-week Tampa Fire Recruit training program. We know this next generation of rescuers could not have gotten here without the love and support of their families. At today's graduation ceremony, the recruits and their families will share this proud moment together.
Today is a very special day for our family. Pam and I are extremely proud of Michael and his accomplishments. Me being a firefighter and passing that on to him means a lot to me, and it also means a lot to my father, who is also a retired firefighter from New York City. So Michael will be a third-generation firefighter, and it makes us extremely proud. Well, I've told him that he needs to be his own person. Don't rely on what I've done on the job. It's not going to be automatically passed down to him, and I expect him to be his own man, live up to his own expectations, and just be as good as he possibly can be.
I absolutely love attending the graduation ceremonies of the new firefighters because they represent the cream of the crop. For every person that we hire, there are literally hundreds who would love to have the job because Tampa Fire Rescue is so well thought of throughout the nation. And these young men and women, they really are remarkable. They've thrown themselves into their studies. They want to be the best at what they do. They're so dedicated. They know that from here on out, their life is one of public service, putting the public's welfare before their own. And they're willing to do that. In fact, they're enthusiastic about it. And it's a very special day. Always love these graduation ceremonies. It's the first one under the new fire chief, Chief Forward, and I know he was very proud.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next month on Scene with Tampa Fire Rescue.